Hello everyone, Aaron from Beansprout here, and I'm excited to announce that we're finally ready to take orders for instruments from our Kingdom Era Ukulele project. This project started about 3 years ago when I got a grant from Mortise and Tenon magazine to do some research into the three original ukulele builders in Hawaii. These were three Portuguese gentlemen that came in 1879, and they brought two Portuguese folk instruments that eventually developed into the ukulele. So I got to go to Hawaii and see some originals in a museum and also in a private collection. And I've been doing research ever since onto the tools, materials, and techniques that created these instruments. And along the way, I've had lots of customers ask me to build one for them, and I haven't made that available till right now. So I don't intend to make any copies of anyone's work. These instruments that I've been making are inspired by these three original craftspeople, but I also want to do what I do really well. So this is a mixture of those two things. It's my work inspired by some really inspirational builders. So I'm going to show the instruments. I'm going to show the instruments that we have so far in the series, and you can go to the beansprout.com and go to the Kingdom Era page, models page, so that you can see all the specs and know what you're getting before you place an order. I'm probably going to limit myself to about one a month. They're a lot more labor intensive than my normal instruments, and they're really special to me, and I want to take my time with them. So all of the info and pricing and everything will be over there. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you these four. All of them have their own YouTube video already with sound samples and giving more info. But anyway, we'll get started. The first instrument is about the size of a soprano ukulele, 13.5-inch scale length. And this is inspired by the original instrument that came from Madeira that was actually called a machete. So I'll show the two I have so far. So for a soprano, it's kind of small, thin and curvy. It's got really cool look and shape to it. This one is all Pacific Northwest woods. It's cedar and myrtle with walnut up front here. And I prefer the rope binding on these instruments, although we can do other binding schemes if you like. So the standard will be peghead brand geared tuners. They look like violin pegs, but they're really geared. Then modern frets and fret markers on the side, bone nut and saddle, and a flat fretboard, although we can do radius on request, and then bridge pins here to hold the strings in, because that's how the originals were done. And this customer asked for gut strings, which is a fun historical addition. And some of you, the customers that have been following along, I think they're going to want a really historic instrument, maybe with the old violin pegs and the gut strings and all that. We can talk about those things as we go along. This one is the original instrument I made for the project, and so it's made of koa mainly, with fir as the second wood. Koa and fir. And I think for this project, I'll choose my favorite and my best woods, and they'll be available in my general scheme of woods. I think the originals usually were softwood top with hardwood back and sides, but then eventually they did start to use all koa. So anyway, that's the soprano instruments. The other size instrument has a 17-inch scale length, which is what we would now think of as a tenor ukulele. This instrument, when it came from Portugal, had 5 strings, and it was called a rajau. So I'm going to offer this in 5 or 4 strings. This one here is also all in Northwest woods. It's cedar and myrtle and walnut. And this size and shape is really unique for a tenor. Its length here to here is actually longer than most tenors, but the overall length is about the same. So it doesn't really fit very well in a tenor case, which we'll talk about in a minute. And folks have been asking me to try to describe how these instruments sound different than my normal instruments. And I'm not quite sure yet how they're exactly different, but they're different. You'll have to listen to more sound samples and decide for yourself, but I feel like they're a little airier, poppier, old-timeier. They sit with a breathiness to the mix that I really like. And they're very lightweight. So this is a 4-string version of the tenor size. And the 5-string version originally was D, G, C, E, A, which this one is. Although I think that for customers we could have quite a bit of flexibility how we do the 5th string. And this one's also for in koa. So with these instruments, I'm gonna ship them in these little wooden cases, and that's because that's how the originals were done. So it's fun for me to make these little handmade boxes, and I just line them with simple fabric, old brass hardware on them. They're just finished in beeswax. Very simple rustic case or box for them. And if you don't want one of those, because I could see some customers don't want this, we can leave the box off and you can just, we'll send it in a really nice gig bag for you. For the larger instruments, traditionally the cases kind of look like a little coffin like this. So this one's made of hemlock. Hemlock and brass and beeswax, and then that fabric. I think they're really fun. It's a cool kind of hand tool woodworking project on its own. Yeah, and for every instrument in the Kingdom Era project, we will donate back to a Hawaiian nonprofit. We have several cultural, artistic, forestry, and cultural research nonprofits that we like to donate to. So for every one of these instruments, we'll give a little bit back to Hawaii to keep saying thank you to the cool culture that created this instrument for us. So yeah, if you're interested in one of these instruments in these 2 sizes, please go over to thebeansprout.com, head to the models page, and you can put down an order for one of these. I'm just really thankful that we get to do this, and I'm thankful to get to share this with you now. It feels like a long time coming to make these available, and thanks for being patient, but we wanted to do it properly. So here they are, and thanks for your support. Cheers.